First thing you need to do is you need to get your maid of honor and best man on one side of the dance floor and your bride and groom on the other side of the dance floor so they're actually looking at each other. That's key. Next thing you want to do is you want to figure out where you're going to place your lights. Now, whatever side you place your lights, you're going to set your cameras up on the opposite side. You're going to want to shoot against the light. Why do you want to shoot against the light? So you get that dramatic dark line that looks really good on video. A lot of times photographers, mostly inexperienced photographers, are going to argue with you because they want to have everybody in the frame where the bride and groom are either looking completely to the left or to the right or even like upside down and backwards with the maid of honor and best man behind them. Drives me absolutely insane. You would never watch a movie or a TV show if it's just one wide shot. We're setting things up video-wise because we need content. We need to have a clean reaction shot of the couple and a clean reaction shot of the maid of honor and best man. Now, you might think, this all makes sense, Brett, but how do I know where to place them? Well, I'm going to show you right here. The first thing that I do is when I go into the reception, you have to find out where the DJ is going to be. That's because you don't want to have your DJ in the background. You can have the greatest shot in the world in your head, but when it comes to the speeches, you might now have a DJ or a booth in the shot, and we don't want to show any of that. We want very clean, crisp, cinematic, Hollywood type angles. So once I figure out where the DJ is going to be, then I'm going to say to myself, I want my bride and groom going to be here, because I know from my camera perspective, what's going to be in that frame with the couple is not going to be a DJ. It's either going to be just darkness because we're going to bring in lights, or it's going to be guest at the wedding. Those are things that you have to keep in mind. Now remember, I talked about earlier before that the 180 rule, where whatever side your camera's on, you're going to stay on that same side. That applies here as well. So whatever your maid of honor and best man are and your bride and groom on the dance floor, you want your cameras to be positioned on the same side. So one camera is going to be on your bride and groom, and the other camera is going to be on your maid of honor and best man, because they're actually looking at each other as they are in real life. Now, with your lighting, like I said, you want to shoot against the light every time with speeches, against the light. This applies pretty much throughout the entire day as well. I'm going to really go in deep with bride prep because you always want your video to be shot against the light for that defined line. Again, that looks really good on video. If you shoot with the light, you're going to lose that effect that we're trying to get. Remember, we want our stuff, especially as solo shooters, to look very polished, very high production value. So always remember, shoot against the light when you can. Now, I'm going to talk about later on how to get really good, clean audio, but this is kind of just camera placement for this segment. Now, if you have a third camera, you know your bride and groom aren't going to be moving. You know your maid of honor and best man aren't going to be moving if you have a light stand. You have to have a light stand, because what happens if we don't have a light stand, a mic stand? The bride and groom tend to walk the room. What happens when they walk the room? Well, they're no longer in focus and they're no longer in the light. The two things that we need for video are gone if, it's always the guy too, if the best man decides to walk the room. So what I like to do is before the wedding, I like to call the DJ, say, hey, I'm Brett, I'm doing the video or the cinema. I would love if you could bring a mic stand. Most of the time they have one on them, or it's in the truck or their van, and they'll get it. You get that mic stand on the dance floor, they're not moving. Now if you have a third camera, now you can bounce around and get your kind of your B-roll or your extra content shots, such as reaction shots from guests. A parent could be crying, grandparent could be crying. You want to bounce around the room and just get a lot of different faces quickly to sprinkle that in throughout your film. My personal favorite shot, and I've been doing it a lot lately and it looks absolutely killer, is I like to shoot behind the bride and groom, sort of their shoulders, like they're shoulder to shoulder, and then in between their shoulders, you see the maid of honor or the best man, and you've got that light hitting them on one side, so you're still getting that really defined line, And now in your foreground, you're shooting between the bride and the groom. It looks so good on camera. And I'm getting that with a C200 in RAW with 100 macro Zeiss. And again, it looks so good. I can shoot that at like 2.0 to really get that blurry foreground. And it just adds a lot of value. Now, I'm not there the whole time because I want my monopod shot. That's me. I want to be bouncing around the room and getting as much B-roll and content as possible. Now, I've noticed over the years, you're going to have a ton of resistance from every vendor you can imagine that's going to say, no, we don't like to do this. Don't do it. It doesn't look good. The way you get around that is you have to educate your bride and groom. So when a caterer comes from the back and says, why are you putting chairs here? This is the dance floor. I'm going to tell them this is where my bride and groom are going to be seated during speeches. They're going to argue with you every time. You're going to have a band member. A band member. The guy doesn't edit or know anything about video or cinema. These people are going to fight with you the entire time, and you're going to waste a lot of time and energy. You just have to educate your couples. Now, I will say, the uneducated photographers that don't understand, they just want to get a wide shot. I can't tell you how many photographers I've fought with throughout the years where they say, this looks ugly. We want to get our shot so we can go back and eat. It drives me crazy because the day is not about getting a quick shot so you can go eat. The day is about dominating this product, giving your bride and groom something that they're thinking, I am so glad I hired this Brett dude because he was on our side. He was educational in what he was doing, and our stuff looks so good. So you have to educate your bride and groom because things like this are going to happen. And I don't think it's ever going to not happen, so always keep that in mind. Now, some wedding venues are extremely challenging to shoot these kind of toasts in. The way that you handle that, a lot of times, especially here in Florida, South Florida, there are some really beautiful venues where the dancing happens outside. You see like the ocean, the sand, and sometimes the receptions, they're in really tiny places, but then they move everybody out there to dance. I tell my couples, look, if you want some really sexy images, we need to do your speeches outside. And they're going to say, yeah, because they're hiring you to make something. They're paying you a lot of money, and they're going to trust you to give them the best. So again, always educate your couples. I move my couples usually 50% of the time down here in Florida outside to the dance floor. Now, I will say that there sort of has to be a timeline flow in order to get this moment to happen as it should. And this needs to happen where the DJ introduces the wedding party, then the wedding party sits down and you guys eat dinner. During dinner, now you can be like, okay, this is where I'm setting up my lights, this is where my couple's gonna be, this is where I'm gonna have my mic stand. Now I got time to go over audio with the DJ. When I first got down to Florida, none of my weddings, they went introductions, toast, and I would be like, this has to change for me to do this. So I started really educating my couples, and now a lot of venues know me by heart, and they already know that speeches are so important to me. It's usually about 30 to 50% of your film is your wedding toast. So these need to be set up very, very, very video friendly. Now in the future, I'm going to do courses on how to get the best audio you can get when it comes to toast. And I'll go more into shooting against the light, mainly with bride prep. But to recap this, I know I threw a lot at you guys really quick. You want to bring your maid of honor and best man on one side of the dance floor, your bride and groom on the other side of the dance floor. Whatever side you shoot on, you want your cameras to be on the same side, so they're looking at each other as they are in real life. And then on the opposite side, you want to have your lights to get that defined line that we really love in video. So, hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, again, I can't stress this enough, reach out to me. I guarantee you I know more about this stuff, especially as a solo shooter, than any other YouTubers combined. I have been doing this since '08 full time. Been filming weddings since I was like 13. Like, I know this stuff in and out. I'm always a resource. Even if you guys aren't newbies, or if you guys want to share some knowledge with me, because there's probably something I can obviously learn, reach out to me. I would love to have more of a voice in this industry, this community. I'm an open book for knowledge. I will never hold any secrets back. All that I ask is you just like and subscribe. I think I just spit. That's okay. And together we can all grow, because I've got so much knowledge and insights and tips I want to share with you guys throughout the next couple of years. So again, I'm going to be probably doing at least one of these a week. And if you have a question, reach out to me. I'll obviously answer it. And then I'll make a video pretty much designated strictly for your question. And then I'll be sure to tag you in it. And again, we can all learn and grow. And as I said in one of my other videos, if we can take out the photographers and we can reign as the champions, that would be great. So again, like and subscribe. Hopefully you learned something, and I appreciate it.